What's up YouTube? How are you doing today? Chana D, your Techno Dad here, and in today's video we're going to be setting up a turntable, and we're going to get into it right after the jump. And I'm back. Now if you're new to the channel and want to learn about 4K, home theater, and audio products and how to set it up, you should consider subscribing because I'm here to help. Now that that's out of the way, let's get into it. So in the last 3 to 5 years, or maybe 6 years, there's been a huge resurgence of vinyl. In fact, Best Buy just reported to stop selling CDs in their stores and only sell vinyl. Pretty interesting, huh? So let's say you went out and bought a turntable and you bought yourself a new needle or stylus and you got it home and now you're just kind of like, well, what do I do with this? If you don't set it up correctly, you could have some big issues, especially if you're blasting music. You don't want to get any nasty distortion because the needle isn't working right or it isn't set up correctly. Now, before we get into actual setup, let's talk about the parts of a turntable. So here's the Technics SL1200 M3D. I pulled this bad boy out of storage, and yes, of course, since I DJ, I have two. Let's start with the left-hand side lower corner. We've got the power switch, start-stop button, and a speed selector switch. Now this turntable will only do speeds of 33 and 45. In the newer versions, if you press both buttons, you can get to a 78. Unfortunately, that's not how this one is made. It was made in 2001, so it didn't have that feature. I think a lot more newer turntables do have a 78 option. Now if we move to the center of the turntable, we have the platter. Now this is what the record sits on, and this is the big thing that spins. And in the center of this is the spindle. Now on the angled side of the platter, you will see a bunch of dots, and these are called strobe dots. And I can explain to you in a different video what the dots mean and how it is in relation to the speed and the changes of speed. But for now, just know they're called strobe dots and they're on the side of the platter. Moving along to the right, we have a stylus illuminator. So basically it's a little light that pops up, and this is great for seeing exactly where you're dropping the needle. Like if it's going to be on a blank spot or if it's going to actually be dropping in the middle of a song, you can easily tell by having that little directional light right there. Now on the far right, we have the pitch and tempo slider. Now what this does is it changes the pitch and tempo on this turntable plus or minus 8% of the original tempo or beat per minute of the song. Now on this turntable, it has a reset button. When you press it, it turns it to the original tempo of the song. Now to get back to the most important part of the turntable, and that is the tone arm. On the tone arm, we have the counterweight, anti-skate control, a Q lever, a rest for the tone arm itself. Now there's a height adjustment around the base of the tone arm. And at the end of the tone arm is the Cartridge Assembly. So those are the main parts of the turntable. Now I know some turntables have a tone arm that's attached to the head shell, and you actually have to mount the cartridge to that, and it could be a little bit more difficult than what I'm going to be doing in just a moment. So now let's get ready to set up this turntable. Now we are going to need a few items like a protractor, a needle, and a head shell, and there's like a thing it's pretty much a little scale, and it's going to help us measure the tracking force properly. I'll put links to all this stuff in the description, so don't worry about any of that. Now let's go ahead and assemble the cartridge. Alright, here we have my old cartridge, which is made up of the stylus, the cartridge, and the head shell. If you notice toward the back, we have wires that are color-coded, blue, green, red, and white. This is going to look very similar to the new head shell that I got. This time I went with the Ortofon blue head shell because I also got a blue needle, so that kind of worked out. And there are the wires on the back, and it also comes with a set of screws, longer screws and shorter screws. So this is what the head shell looks like. Pretty nice. Pretty nice. I didn't want to reuse my old Technics head shell, so I just got that one. And here we have the Ortofon 2M Blue stylus cartridge. So the stylus is the actual needle, that guy right there. That's the actual needle. And the cartridge is what it's attached to. Now here you can see our same color-coded pins that we're going to put the wires into. So this is kind of a little bit tricky, as you can see. These things are very, very small, and you might struggle with it a little bit. And this is why I say, like, on the turntables where the head shell is actually connected to the tone arm, this could be a bit difficult. Without tools, of course. I did this without pliers. I had pliers on standby, but I was able to, at some point, get this connected. And there's the red one. Nice and secure. This white one took a little bit of time, but I finally got it. Alright, so there you go. That's what it looks like. Now we need to get the screws on here. I use my own screwdriver instead of the one that came with the needle. And I tested out both screws. So this is the shorter screw, and I don't think that's going to work. So here's the longer screw. Let's see if this will give enough space up top for it to go all the way to the bottom of the thread and through the head shell. Boom. I think this is our winner, guys. Alright, so now to get in position, we kind of have to push the wires in a little bit, so they're going to bunch up. Don't worry about that, that's normal. Alright, got the first screw in there. Now you'll notice you kind of have to fiddle around with this for quite a little bit of time to get it right. And this is all just part of it, I did this back in 2001 when I was assembling my previous cartridge. Alright, so there we go. Here's the new cartridge, here's the old cartridge. Kind of similar look to it, a little bit different. Alright, so let's put the stylus cover back on. Boom. And now we are good to go. Look at this. This thing looks really nice. Alright, so here we are on the turntable, and here's the little mating screw that we got to plug in the cartridge assembly to, and then just screw that guy in. Now what we need to do here is balance the tone arm. So we're going to unlock the tone arm from the tone arm rest. As you can see, the counterweight's like way up front. Now if we move it to the back, you can see the tone arm starts to balance the opposite direction. And that's a little too much, so we're not going to want that. Now don't worry, I have my stylus cover on there. Now this seems to be okay. It's maybe still a little too back heavy. Now right here it's definitely balanced. So let's just move on from this. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to need to do is adjust the height. As you can see, we have this ring on the base here. And this is what we use to adjust the height of the entire tone arm. So here it is with the height all the way to the top. As you can see, the stylus is kind of pointing downward, and the tone arm isn't parallel with the platter, kind of like it is in this resting position. We need to lower the height so that the tone arm is nicely parallel with the platter, not angled up and not angled down. So this is what angled up would look like, and this is not what you want. You do not want this. Now, as you can see here, this is the lowest height, and if I were to put a record there, it's pretty much exactly where it needs to be, which is parallel to the platter. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to do, and this is kind of like a trial and error, so I sped up the video. I took the stylus cover off so the needle is, out there open and exposed. And I had to look for the tracking force of the needle, and that's in the instruction booklet. We're looking for 1.8. So it took quite a while for me to get close. All right, 169, 190, ooh, 184, pretty close. Oh, 179, I think this is where I finally get it. 181, there we go. This is kind of like the balancing section, except we're trying to precisely add the proper tracking force that's recommended by the needle manufacturer. Now, once that is set, now we have to set the anti-skating. Now, this is very easy. The anti-skating is the same as the tracking force. So we're looking for 1.8. So all we have to do is turn this dial, and there's a little arrow that's pointing there to what it's at, and 2 notches above 2, and we're at 1.8. Fantastic. That was easy, right? Now that that's done, we got to break out the protractor and align the stylus with it. So this is also another painstaking process, but basically this is what you want it to look like. You want the stylus head to be parallel with this middle line here, and you want the needle to sit on the other line. Now, as you can see, it's pretty much on point. It's a little bit to the right, so I'm gonna have to make a quick adjustment, and that's why we don't screw in the screws here in the head shell all the way tight until this step, because we are going to fiddle around with it. Now, I was lucky, it didn't take too many times to adjust this needle. It was pretty much there. I just got to scoot it back just a little bit on the right hand side, or the side that's closer to the center of the turntable. Just a hair. Just a hair. All right, now that that's done, let's go back and check it out. And now it looks like we are right on the money here. Let me see if I can change angles real quick to show you guys from a different viewpoint. There we go. Looks great. Just got to turn this back. This one looks great as well. So we're good. We're good to go on that. So now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to put on some vinyl or some wax or whatever you want to call it, and listen to some tunes. And here we go. This is what it looks like in action. Now that we've taken care of all those steps, you can listen to vinyl to your heart's content. That's pretty much it. You're done. We're done. And it's all good. So if you like this video, go ahead and smash that like button. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel using the button in the middle of your screen. Once again, my name is Chana D. I'm your Techno Dad, and I'll see you next time.